Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is It is Time for a Showdown and the Truth to be Known. Now, I got a couple of things to say before we actually get into that. First of all, we've all heard the saying, the calm before the storm, or it's darkest before the dawn, or marriage, when the anger is gone, so is the marriage. In other words, when you stop talking, the fight begins. Now, that's part of a point because you may be asking, Stan, how do you arrive at this daily topic and what happened today? So let me talk about that. Okay, so when seldom do I get something the day before, but once in a while. But most of the time, the way this thing happens is I get up and I start praying and I start listening. And I don't listen here, I listen here. I listen to what, and I keep saying, Lord, what do you want to say today? It's not my program, it's not my people, it's your program, your people to build your kingdom. What do you want to say? And I just keep that over and over and over in my heart, my spirit. And sometimes the topic comes to me, but sometimes it doesn't. So at that point, I start researching. I watch the news. By the way, thank you so much for your emails. I cannot tell you how many times your emails made the program or added to the program. All of a sudden, I see an email and say, that's it. Or I see an email that's got to go into it. Now, let me explain to you what happened today, because I think it's important that you know that this is not coming from flesh, that God is speaking, trying to give you these warnings. Now, I don't know, it's probably 25 years ago. I was in my office one day. I remember it distinctly. I was talking about someone that I might interview and bring in to put on a speaking tour. And all of a sudden, I started yawning. And I mean, the yawns were so back to back to back. It was, I couldn't even talk to the guy. I had to call him back. And so finally, me being the bright guy that I am, I thought, okay, Lord, are you talking to me? Are you telling me I shouldn't have that guy as a speaker? Well, that's exactly what he was saying. Well, ever since then, I've got that as a no. There's been times where I've been in the middle of a sentence, I've been talking to someone, and it doesn't necessarily relate to just prophecy. There has been times when maybe I'm looking to buy something and all of a sudden I get a yawn. I'm thinking about maybe getting a dog. I get a big yawn. No, not that one. And it happens, I won't say every day, but often. There are times where it happens 2 or 3 times a day. There's times in my prayer closet in the evening, I'm thinking of something. I haven't even said anything. Or maybe I'm just sitting quiet. I haven't said anything to the Lord. He hears it here. And here comes a big yawn. Now that's the no. On the other hand, sometimes I get an anointing. And here's what it feels like. Sometimes it feels like someone, have you ever had somebody come up behind you and they just touch just a hair? Okay, sometimes it feels like that. Sometimes it feels like touching several hairs. Other times it feels like I'm wearing a crown. But today it started itching right here at the hairline. Of course, my hairline's gone back a little bit the last few years, but today, here's what happened. So I went all through my sources of news. I went all through your emails. I went through, and I have researchers, by the way, that send me lots of emails every day. I went all through those. Nothing. It just flatline. Just, this is not it. This is not it. Keep looking. And I was over on another site. In the past, I have used some of the visions. By the way, I typically do not use prophetic words. There's just too much flesh in them for me. So it's either a dream, a vision, audible voice, angel visit. Those are pretty much, and then seldom I will use it if it's the only time. If it is the only time I've got this, that'll tell you, I don't have a verification on this. Normally it's in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. But anyway, so I was looking at this one site today, and all of a sudden I got a big yawn. I was only a paragraph into it. And I thought, okay, well, thank you for saving my time. I don't need to read any more of this one. Clicked off. And then I checked this other site from Barry Wunsch, and he had several prophetic words which I did not even read. I don't. If it's a prophetic word, it's just too much flesh for me. I just I'm not. It's again. It's just no other way to say it. It's just too much flesh. I'm just not going to accept that as God. But I went to one of his prophetic. How do you say it? Prophetic encounters, and that's where he has a dream or vision. And as soon as I opened it up, the anointing touched me. I mean, I started itching right here. And so I'm listening to that. And I'm reading this. I'm reading that and I'm listening. And when I say listening, I'm listening in my spirit. In other words, I'm paying attention to this anointing touching me on my forehead. And I started reading, and my attention was drawn away from the anointing on my forehead to the reading. And unconsciously, I just reached up and I started to scratch because the itching was getting pretty strong, meaning that what he was saying, was from him. Doesn't mean the other things he said are accurate. Doesn't mean everything comes from him is accurate. But what he was saying is, stand this one right here, pay attention, put this in the program. So I'm going to bring that to you in the program in just a minute. A couple of things I want to talk about first. First of all, it's darkest before the dawn. There's a calm before the storm. And what I sense in the spirit, and what I also observe in the natural, is there's a calm right now. And I think that pretty much the warnings have been delivered. And so God is saying, enough of the warning. Now the judgments are about to hit. It's kind of like the dog that's barking. If you ignore the dog that's barking, then the next level is he's got to bite you. And so since America and basically the rest of the world has, for the most part, been ignoring God, ignoring his prophets, ignoring his warnings, so now I got to bite you. And if you look at my notes here, we have stopped all the warnings that says the time has been extended. Those are gone. In other words, it's now time for the bite. We have seen warning after warning, but those warnings have been slowed to a crawl, and it's almost stopped. So let me ask you a question. Where is Shane Warren's visions? He had one, but that was 2010. Okay, so that's 15 years ago. To my knowledge, he hasn't had a new one. Dana Coverstone, you remember, Dana used to have one or two a month, sometimes even one a week. Well, he's had, I think in the last 6 months, he's had one or two. In other words, the barking has stopped. The biting is starting. Remember, you be ready. He used to have one once a week, maybe 2 or 3 times a month. I just checked. He's down to where he has about one a month, maybe 2 a month on the average. Terry Bennett. Where's Terry Bennett? Okay, Terry Bennett used to have one once a month or once every other month. He hadn't had one now in months. Again, I haven't checked that, but at least no one sent me anything. Let's go on. Also, when you got all of these warnings, look at this. Forget what it says on the right. Look, 38 warnings, 17 warnings, 17, 11, 8, 7. You got all of those warnings, and all of a sudden now, calm. Silence. What that tells me is the dog ain't barking anymore. Now, I mean, what was it? It was a Doberman Pinscher is not famous for barking. It's famous for biting. It doesn't bark. It just bites. See, if I were walking in the desert, I would want to hear the rattler before I got bit. What I think I'm trying to say is, in what I sense in the spirit, is that the rattler is no longer rattling. It's now flying through the air with mouth open. The dog is no longer barking. It's now heading this way with mouth open to bite. In other words, and that's what the topic is today. It's basically saying it's arrived. So this comes from Barry Wunsch. This is what I got the anointing on, okay? So, I mean, immediately when I went to this, I started getting that itch. It is time for Showdown and Truth to be known. I was taken of the Spirit into American military. Oh, now, he had this in March, but he just now released it, okay? I was taken of the Spirit into an American military facility and missile silos being checked. By the way, I know sometimes I read a little fast, but I think I don't have to read real fast today, so I'm going to try to slow down my reading and maybe even read it twice and comment on it, okay? I was taken of the Spirit into an American military facility and missile silos being checked. There were banks of them with 3-foot thick concrete lids. They had shifts. By the way, this is slightly edited to make it flow better. They had shifts of people running these facilities day and night. Each group highly trained in operations, communications, surveillance, right down to the engineers who built and serviced the weaponry. These were the best of the best, high quality, highly intelligent people. All the leaders and management teams were in a briefing to tighten things to go through the system to ensure they were more than ready for action at a moment's notice. They ran system checks, silo by silo, weapon by weapon, system by system. These well-oiled teams ran through checklists together with confidence and precision. They had trained for this. The Trump administration and high-level generals had new protocols. Like changing passwords, they would correct any leaks or compromise. President Trump trusted them and put them in place for their flawless ability, trust, values, and ethics. POTUS 47 knew that there were potential vulnerabilities in the system and was securing everything. Then I was taken into high-level Space Force military control room. That's why I have this in the background today. They were checking space weaponry, satellite technology, and highly classified weaponry never deployed before. My attention was drawn to a group overseeing rods of God. Now, what are the rods of God? Well, they are rods of tungsten. And I don't know exactly how long, I don't know exactly what the diameter is, but I've read about them. But as essentially, these rods of God, this one report said, are already up in our atmosphere, way up where the satellites are. And they go around the Earth like a satellite, and at any moment, they can be dropped. They do not have explosives. But these rods of tungsten, I think is what it was, not titanium. I think it was tungsten. Anyway, they drop these rods, and they go from a high atmospheric position down, and by the time they hit the Earth, they are going so fast, so hard, that they do explode. But they go deep in the Earth, and they do catastrophic damage. And, of course, they can be loosed, and I don't know, I had a guy once, okay, tell you that story. So my daughter had mentioned to me, Dad, I want to go skydiving. A couple of days after that, I saw this bumper sticker on this guy's car. Call me to go skydiving. And I thought, I don't want my daughter going skydiving. I'm looking for some reasons to talk her out of it. So I called him just right there on my cell phone. I dialed a number right off of his bumper sticker. And I said, my daughter's interested in going skydiving. Tell me about it. He said, don't do it. Don't do it. I'm telling you, don't do it. And then he went into this long spiel. I've been, skydiving for 25 years, and I've skydived, with 250 or 500, whatever the number was, lots and lots of people, and 7 of them are dead. Don't do it. He said, you don't understand. It is the scariest 45 seconds of your life. And you have a high probability of dying. Yes, I will put you through the training. He said, but you have, I don't forget the number, like 11 or 15 or 17, whatever things you have to do, all in 45 seconds, all in the correct order. And if you miss one, you're dead. 7 people have died. I have trained. Don't do it. Now, I say that because if it's 45 seconds for a skydiver to hit the ground, these rods of God are probably in the ballpark of like 45 to a minute, meaning that with those up there, those can hit the Earth with devastating results within a minute or so. I will say 2 minutes tops. But since they're falling so fast and so hard, because tungsten is like one of the heaviest things on the planet, okay, by the time they hit, they are devastating. That's the rods of God. Now let's go again. My attention was drawn to a group overseeing the rods of God. These were the big guns. They had the fear of the Lord on them, the right men and women with the right hearts and specialized seats. I saw another cybersecurity team established as a large platoon to watch over digital traffic, to track and monitor sources and objectives. Now, may I say, I wish that they would stop all the garbage phone calls we get on our landlines, on our cell phones. Stop the cheating. Stop the scamming in our emails, our texts. Stop it, stop it, stop it. I know they can, just they haven't yet. I saw another cybersecurity team established as a large platoon to watch over digital traffic to track and monitor sources and objectives. They were massively complex and extremely effective. They moved with confidence. They could shut down part or all of the internet at command. They had another system that far superseded the internet now. It made the internet now look archaic. I was taken into an underground American base. I saw doors and tunnels and an American-made spacecraft. Another reason that's back there, okay? Maybe I should take a second. I see I have the time. Maybe take a second. So, Prophecy Club started in June of 1993. This was about 1994. I was playing some programs talking about UFOs, and I got this phone call. Now, those days, it was basically me answering the phone at Prophecy Club. So I answered the phone, this guy called. He says, I've been listening to your programs. And he said, I used to be really high up in government, and I know lots of things, and I'm not going to tell you anything, but I will answer your questions. I said, okay. Area 51. He said, yep, I've been all through it. I said, they got anti-gravity flying devices there? He said, yes. Some our government has made, some from other planets, some from other worlds. And he says, see, you don't know anything. He said, you think you do. You don't know anything. He said, because they have the best minds on the planet in these underground facilities. They have unlimited funding, and they are so far ahead. Now, this is 1994. He said they're approximately 25 years ahead of any laboratory on the planet. He said, everything you know about is all old technology. I said, okay, so what's some technology they have that I don't know about? He says, okay, successful head transplants, human head transplants, old technology. I said, they got aliens there? He said, yeah, some alive, some dead. I said, and they got anti-gravity flying devices? Yes, some our government has made, some from other planets, other worlds. He said, and I said, well, tell me, what is the deepest, darkest secret they have? What's the thing they don't want people to know about more than anything? What's the big project they're working on? He said, okay, creation. He said, they're trying to create life. Okay, well, what's that? That's straight out of Revelation 13. And he had power to give life to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast would both speak and cause, as many as would not worship the beast should be killed. Now, I raised the story to let you know that, yep, there's very high technology out there, and it's not just Area 51, in my opinion. It's Pine Gap. There's a lot. I mean, I've been doing this Bible prophecy stuff for a long time, like 40 years, okay? And we've had 160 guest speakers making 330 DVDs, which, by the way, you can watch them all at watchprophecyclub.com. I recommend you go there and subscribe. Yeah, I can't watch them all in a year. 300 some odd DVDs, okay? Anyway, many of those guests would come on and talk about things like underground bases, aliens, and all kinds of stuff that today they'd take you off the internet for talking about. But in those days, I was radio and TV on Christian radio, Christian TV. And there was a few times that a radio or a TV station would cancel us because of what we said. But for the large part, I could say whatever I wanted to say. Not like today. The point is, I learned a lot. Now, let's go back to this. I was taken into an underground American base. I saw doors and tunnels and an American-made spacecraft ready for deployment. This secret technology was to protect and defend globally, not just America, but globally. There was a large screen in the room, and there were names of nations under very careful watch. Listed were UN Globalist Cabal. Now, you see that word cabal? That's short for ball, as in B-A-A-L, as in Moloch and Baal. These are the people that worship Moloch and Baal, the same thing that was Moses had 3,000 of these people killed because they made a golden or a molten calf, started worshiping it. So Moses, everybody that worshiped Moloch was killed. This is the worst religion, the worst people on the planet are Moloch and Baal worshipers. Second only to Lucifer himself. So they're saying the UN Globalist Cabal, China, North Korea, Iran, Russia, and Canada. Now, I'm a little surprised that Canada's on that list because Barry Wunsch lives in Canada. These were on high alert watch list. I knew by the Spirit that God had put President Trump in place to steward these things for this time for protection for America. They protect life from demonic, evil, globalist regimes. They were to stop bad things from happening. As I went through this again today, the Lord spoke to me, saying, Barry, tell my people I have gone far ahead of them, meaning these evil people. There are many plots and plans to try and stop what I'm turning over in the nations. Okay, we've had several prophecies say that, you remember Neville Johnson saw a cup, and he said it was on the outside, it was delicate and clean and beautiful, but on the inside it was filthy. And the angel speaking to him said, this cup represents the finances of the world. On the outside, they're pretty and they look clean, but they're very delicate, and on the inside, they're filthy. And that cup broke, and he says, I'm going to break the financial system of the world. And that's when he saw another man. He was holding this man by the ankle upside down and shaking him, and things were falling out like gold and silver, and cures like cancer and Alzheimer's and diabetes and all kinds, and that the pharmaceutical companies had these cures for many years but had not released them. And God is about to release them. This also has to do with a new financial plan coming in. All right, now let's go on. Barry, tell my people I've gone far ahead of them. There are many plots and plans to try and stop what I'm turning over in the nations. Let me be clear. Hear me today. They will not be able to stop me. They will not succeed in their plans. Through all history, I have put men and women into place. Kings, prophets, priests, judges and rulers, armies and defenders. It stands the same today. My ancient ways have not changed. Just as in days of old, I say unto you, my people, do not fear. Do not be afraid. Now, let me say something else about that. I'm talking a lot today. Hope you don't mind that. I like listening to President Trump. I listen to just about every one of his talks, every one of his cabinet meetings, every one of his rallies. He encourages me. And I think we all need a little encouragement, especially if you listen to Prophecy Club very often. I still think the prophecies are going to come to pass, but from time to time it's good to believe the more positive things are coming. And while I don't fear, and I don't think a lot of you fear, because what takes away our fear is the closer we are to Jesus, the less we fear. The further we are from Jesus, the more we have fear. So if you're having fear, get you a prayer closet. Go to watchprophecyclub.com. Go and watch my DVD called Building Your Prayer Closet. It's of the 32 or 37 DVDs or whatever it is I made, it is by far the most popular. As a matter of fact, of the 300 DVDs, I think it's in the top 10. People really, and I get more compliments on that DVD than any of them. Building your prayer closet. Okay, so let's go on. There are those who have hardened their hearts to me. They curse me. They hate me and my ways. They have given themselves over to the enemy. They have committed abominations in my sight. They have crossbred with demonic entities. We've talked about that. Okay. These hybrids among you are coming to light. So there's going to be a time when UFOs, I think they'll come down, maybe land on the White House lawn, pop the hatch and say, here we are, or something to that effect. These hybrids among you are coming to light. I'm exposing them on a large scale. Watch as I move through the nations and watch them fall. You will not be able to deny what has been done. It is time for my Spirit to be poured out throughout the nations. In other words, time for the great miracle revivals. You remember, I was told August 8th, 2015, Saturday night, I said, Lord, what do you want to say for the sermon tomorrow? Because I'll have anything. And I heard words. They said, this is the time of miracles. As the judgment hits, so are my miracles. Miracles like no one has seen, going all the way back to Adam and Eve. You tell them, I will never leave them nor forsake them. I'm going to meet the devil, inch for inch, step for step, pound for pound. Everything he does, I'm going to meet him. And I believe that there's a very good possibility that this will be the year that the greatest miracle revival will hit. Meaning, judgment is about to hit. Meaning, this is the calm before the storm. This is the darkness before the dawn. This is the quiet before the dog bites. In this case, the barking is over. The dog ain't barking no more. He's now running toward us with his teeth showing. Okay? Watch as I move through the nations and watch them fall. You will not be able to deny what has been done. It is time for my Spirit to be poured out throughout the nations. It is time for a showdown. Remember what You Be Ready said. The show has begun. Same thing. This is the second message, different person. It is time for a showdown of the truth to be known. It is time for a 1 billion soul harvest. It is time to take the land and recover all. It's time, my brothers and sisters. It's time. So let me close with this. If you've not asked Jesus into your heart, you better get after it. It only takes 8 words. Jesus, be my God. Jesus, be my God. Say those 4 words. Jesus, be my God. Jesus, forgive my sins. Those 8 words, it's not the end, it's the start. It's the start of a new walk, a new relationship with Jesus.